The Galactic Concord ruled most of known space. Its council chamber floated above the blue gas giant Veil Prime, a ringed world older than humanity's entire history. The chamber was vast. Stars drifted beyond crystal walls. Representatives of 53 species hovered, slithered, or sat upon gravity thrones. At the center stood a small hologram. A counselor of the Korth Dominion, a towering insectoid with blades for arms, clicked in amusement. Humans, it hissed. A fractured species. Short-lived. Emotion-driven. Barely mastered faster-than-light travel. Laughter echoed, chirps, pulses of light, waves of sound. The Ilarian high mind, a being of pure energy, pulsed calmly. They fight each other constantly. They poison their own planet. Why invite them into Concord space? A soft voice interrupted. They adapt. The speaker was Archivist Threx, an ancient avian species known for history, not war. Adaptation is not power, the Korth replied. The Korth have ruled for 10,000 cycles. The vote was quick. Humanity would be absorbed, peacefully or not. On Earth, the warning arrived as a quiet transmission. A young human admiral stood in silence as the message played. You are ordered to disarm. Your fleets will be placed under Concord oversight. Resistance will be met with corrective force. Admiral Elena Cross exhaled slowly. They think we're children, she said. Behind her, screens showed Earth's fleets, small compared to galactic powers, outdated by alien standards. A general asked, "What do we do?" Elena smiled faintly. "We let them underestimate us." And across the stars, humanity began to prepare. Part 2, the first lesson. The Concord sent a single enforcement fleet. They did not need more. 30 massive warships appeared above Mars, their hulls glowing with ancient alloys. Their commander, Lord Marshal Vector, broadcast confidently. Human vessels. Power down. This is mercy. Human ships moved into formation. They were smaller. Rougher. Scarred. Vector laughed. Then space bent. Human ships vanished. Not cloaked. Gone. Alarms screamed across the alien fleet. Suddenly, human ships reappeared inside their formation. Close. Too close. Human weapons fired. Not energy beams. Kinetic storms. Relativistic projectiles tore through alien shields, which were tuned for plasma and light, not raw mass at near light speed. One Korth battleship split in half. Vector roared, "Impossible. Their tech." A human voice cut through all channels. "You studied our weapons," Admiral Cross said calmly. "You didn't study our wars." The human fleet withdrew just as suddenly. They did not chase. They sent a message instead. This was restraint. Across the galaxy, fear replaced laughter. Part 3, Politics of Panic. The Galactic Concord erupted into chaos. Emergency sessions convened. The Korth demanded annihilation. The Ilarian high mind pulsed erratically. They used no exotic energy. No forbidden science. Archivist Threx spoke again quietly. They used strategy. Reports flooded in. Humans were fortifying choke points. Retrofitting civilian ships into decoys. Using AI-human hybrid command structures. Unpredictable, emotional, creative. A Concord tactician whispered, "They think like predators and prey." Meanwhile, Earth made its move. Human diplomats arrived, unarmed. In the Concord chamber, Admiral Cross stood alone among giants. "You came to submit?" sneered a counselor. "No," she said. "We came to warn you." She activated a projection. Simulations of future wars. Concord losses escalating. Entire trade lanes collapsing. "We don't want your empire," Elena said. "We just want to be left alone." The Korth rose. "You will kneel." Elena met its gaze. "Then you'll learn why no one has ever conquered Earth." Part 4, The War of 1,000 Tricks. The war spread like fire. Humans never fought the same way twice. They hacked alien logistics instead of ships. Used false retreats to lure fleets into gravity wells. Turned moons into kinetic weapons. Alien commanders grew desperate. "They don't fight with honor," cried one. A human captain laughed over open comms. "Honor is a luxury of the winning side." One by one, ancient fleets fell, not by brute force but exhaustion. Human soldiers fought wounded, starving, outnumbered, and kept fighting. On Earth, civilians volunteered in millions. Factories never slept. The galaxy watched in disbelief as humanity outproduced, outthought, and outendured species 10 times older. Part 5, The Broken God. The Concord unleashed its final weapon. The Axiom Devourer, a star-killing construct left by a dead civilization. It arrived at Earth. The sun trembled. Despair spread across the planet. Admiral Cross stood on the bridge. Options, someone whispered. She closed her eyes. Send everything. Human ships charged the Devourer, not to destroy it, to board it. Inside the ancient machine, human soldiers fought corridors older than life. They rewrote its logic with brute force code and human intuition. The Devourer turned and powered down. The galaxy went silent. Part 6, The Kneeling Stars. The Concorde surrendered. Counselors who once laughed now bowed. Archivist Threx spoke, voice full of awe. You were not the weakest species, it said. You were the youngest. Admiral Cross replied softly. And the most tested. Humanity refused the throne. Instead they reshaped the Concorde. No forced absorption. No silent empires. No gods. Only choice. Part 7, The Final Truth. Years later, a young alien asked a human historian, why are humans feared? The human smiled. Because when the galaxy pushed us, he gestured to the stars. We didn't break. Human ships now patrolled peacefully. Not rulers, guardians. And across the galaxy, one truth was written into history. The galaxy made one fatal mistake. It challenged humanity, and survived only because humanity allowed it. The first Concorde enforcement fleet arrived without drama. No thunder. No warning shots. Just a sudden tearing of space above Mars. 30 massive warships slid into real space like gods emerging from myth. Their hulls were smooth and ancient, etched with glowing runes of technology refined over thousands of years. Each ship was larger than any human carrier. Their combined presence bent gravity and light. On the bridge of the Korth flagship Dominion's Claw, Lord Marshal Vectar observed the inner system with detached confidence. So this is humanity, he clicked to his officers. A scattered swarm around a dying star. Human ships gathered below, angular, scarred, patched from old wars. Missiles sat openly on external racks. Hull plating showed weld lines instead of elegant curves. Primitive. Vectar opened all channels. Human forces, he announced, his voice echoing with authority. By decree of the Galactic Concorde, you are ordered to power down all weapons and drives. Compliance will be rewarded with preservation. Resistance will be corrected. Silence followed. On Mars orbit, Admiral Elena Cross stood on the bridge of the UNS Resolute. Her fleet was outnumbered, outmatched, on paper annihilated. Her officers waited. She took a breath. Broadcast reply, she said. The channel opened. This is Admiral Elena Cross of the United Nations Defense Fleet, she said calmly. You are trespassing in soul space. You have one opportunity to withdraw. Laughter rippled across the alien fleet. Vectar's mandibles clicked in amusement. You misunderstand, he replied. This is not a negotiation. This is mercy. Elena's eyes hardened. Then record this, she said quietly. She raised her hand. Execute Phase 1. Human ships did not charge. They did not fire. They vanished. Every ship, gone. Not cloaked. Not jammed. Gone. For a single heartbeat the alien fleet froze. Sensors screamed. Marshal, an officer shrieked. We have lost all human signatures. Vectar's confidence wavered. Impossible. Their technology cannot. Space tore again. Human ships reappeared, inside the Korth formation. Not in neat lines. In chaos. Above, below, between capital ships. So close that alien point defenses could not lock without hitting their own vessels. Before Vectar could issue an order, humanity fired. Not plasma. Not energy beams. Mass. Steel slugs accelerated to near light speed slammed into alien hulls. Shields flared, designed to disperse radiation and plasma, but raw kinetic force crushed through them like paper. One Korth cruiser folded inward as if struck by a god's hammer. Another lost its command spire in a cloud of molten alloy. Shields collapsing. Structural failure on decks 20 through. We are losing propulsion. Vectar roared. Return fire. Erase them. Alien weapons fired brilliant streams of exotic energy. Human ships did not stay. They moved. Microjumps. Unpredictable vectors. Ships accelerating beyond safety margins that would liquefy most species. A human frigate lost half its hull, and kept fighting. Another rammed a Korth destroyer deliberately, detonating its reactor point blank. The Concorde had never seen this. These were not warriors preserving themselves. These were fighters willing to burn if it meant the enemy bled more. Vector opened a direct channel, fury flooding his voice. Humans, you will be destroyed for this defiance. The channel changed. Admiral Cross appeared on every screen. Her face was calm, almost tired. Lord Marshal, she said, you studied our technology, our numbers, our history. She leaned forward slightly. But you didn't study our wars. Another kinetic volley tore through the Dominion's claw. Internal fires erupted. Gravity failed on 3 decks. Human ships pulled back, slowly, methodically. They did not pursue fleeing vessels. They did not finish off the crippled. They withdrew. As suddenly as they had appeared, they vanished again into folded space. The battlefield fell silent. Half the Concorde fleet burned. The rest limped, stunned and broken. Vector stared at the wreckage. This was supposed to be an execution. Instead it was a warning. A final message arrived on all frequencies. This was restraint, Admiral Cross said. Next time we stop holding back. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, sensors recorded the impossible. A young species had faced an ancient empire, and survived. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Concorde felt something unfamiliar. Fear. The battle above Mars did not echo with sound. But its consequences thundered across the galaxy. Within hours, emergency signals flooded the Galactic Concorde. Data streams showed burned hulls, shattered shields, and weapon signatures that made no sense to ancient tacticians. In the High Council chamber above Vale Prime, the mood had changed. Where once there had been laughter, there was now silence. The Korth delegation arrived first. Lord Marshal Vector, wounded and furious, stood before the council. One of his blade arms was missing, replaced by a mechanical limb still sparking faintly. They ambushed us, he snarled. They used barbaric weapons. No honor. No restraint. The Alarian high mind pulsed erratically, its light flickering like a nervous star. Honor is irrelevant, it said. Explain how a pre-emergent species penetrated Korth formations. Vector hesitated. That alone sent ripples through the chamber. They ignored our doctrines, he admitted. They did not seek dominance of space. They sought confusion. Murmurs spread. Archivist Threx unfolded his ancient wings slowly. They did not win by strength, Threx said. They won by choice. They chose how to fight. A Concorde tactician projected battle data. Human ships jumped inside enemy formations, something considered suicidal by most species. They accept losses instantly, the tactician said. They do not hesitate. They do not pause to mourn. The chamber grew colder. They fight, the tactician continued, as if loss is expected. The Korth ambassador slammed his claw into the floor. They are animals, he spat. Cornered creatures lashing out. Threx turned his golden eyes toward him. No, the archivist said softly. They are survivors. While the council argued, humanity moved. Human fleets did not gather for a grand counterattack. They dispersed. Across dozens of star systems, human ships appeared, small task forces, scouts, and converted civilian vessels. They struck supply depots. They jammed communication relays. They vanished before retaliation arrived. Concorde commanders grew frustrated. They refused decisive battle, one shouted during a fleet briefing. A human voice answered unexpectedly. That's the point. The voice belonged to Commander Arun Vale, speaking through a hijacked Concorde channel. You fight to win territory, he said calmly. We fight to break systems. The channel cut. Fear spread faster than fire. Alien economies faltered. Trade routes closed. Worlds dependent on Concorde protection began questioning loyalty. In the Concorde chamber, panic finally surfaced. They are destabilizing the network, the Alarian high mind warned. If this continues, peripheral systems will defect. The Korth demanded escalation. Unleash total war, Vector growled. Crush Earth. Archivist Threx raised a claw. Do you understand what you are asking? He said. They have not yet committed their full strength. That statement drew gasps. They fought us with restraint, Threx continued. And still we bled. A hush fell. The Concorde had ruled through overwhelming force for millennia. No species had ever suggested they were holding back. At that moment, human diplomats arrived. No warships. No escorts. Just a single sleek vessel docking with the council station. The chamber doors opened. Admiral Elena Cross stepped inside. She was small compared to the towering aliens around her. Unarmored. Hands empty. Why are you here? The Korth ambassador sneered. Elena looked around the chamber. To prevent a catastrophe, she said. She activated a projection. It showed war simulations. Concord fleets advancing on Sol. Human countermeasures unfolding in layers. Each scenario ended the same way. Concord victories, at first. Then cascading collapse. Revolts. Economic failure. Systems falling silent. We are not stronger than you, Elena said honestly. We are not older. We are not more advanced. She met the Ilarian high mind's glow. But we learn faster than you expect. The high mind flickered uneasily. Elena continued. You rely on doctrine. We rely on adaptation. Every time you fight us, you teach us how to defeat you better. The Korth roared. You threaten the Concord? Elena shook her head. No, she said softly. I'm warning it. She stepped forward. We do not want your empire. We do not want your worlds. We want one thing. She paused. To be left alone. Silence ruled the chamber. Archivist Threx finally spoke. If we refuse? Elena's expression hardened, not angry but resolute. Then this war will change all of us, she said. And history will not remember who started it, only who survived. She turned and walked out. The chamber remained frozen long after she left. For the first time in its long existence, the Galactic Concord faced an enemy it could not easily classify. Not conqueror. Not rebel. But something far more dangerous. A species that adapted faster than fear itself. The war no longer had a single front. It spread like a living thing, twisting through hyperspace lanes, creeping along trade routes, and striking where the Galactic Concord felt safest. Humanity did not declare total war. They made it unnecessary. Concord admirals searched for a central human fleet to destroy. They never found one. Instead, human ships appeared like ghosts. A Concord convoy vanished near the Ilex corridor, its escorts intact, its cargo gone. No weapons fire. No wreckage. Only empty space and corrupted logs that replayed human laughter before cutting to static. At the Cirith Nebula, Concord cruisers chased a retreating human squadron into dense ion clouds. Sensors failed. Communications died. Minutes later, human minds, silent and unpowered, activated from the dust itself. The nebula burned. On Concord worlds, panic began to seep into daily life. Trade stations closed early. Civilian ships traveled in convoys. Insurance guilds collapsed overnight. The Concord had ruled by stability. Humans attacked stability. In one infamous incident, a human freighter drifted into the Valen Gate, broadcasting distress signals. Concord rescue ships moved to assist. The freighter exploded. From its wreckage emerged human strike craft painted in civilian markings. The Concord howled in outrage. This is deception, the Korth roared during a council broadcast. A human transmission answered instantly. You call it deception, a human captain said. We call it survival. Human warfare was not elegant. It was practical. They used old ships as decoys. Converted asteroids into kinetic weapons. Turned gravity itself into a trap. A Concord dreadnought was lost when humans lured it too close to a pulsar, then detonated drives that altered its orbit by fractions of a degree. That fraction was enough. The dreadnought vanished into stellar fire. Alien analysts were horrified. They calculate chaos, one whispered. They weaponize probability. Meanwhile, humanity paid its price. Human ships were lost daily. Crews burned alive in vacuum. Planets evacuated under threat. But something changed on Earth. Factories ran without pause. Civilian volunteers trained in weeks. Engineers rewrote doctrine nightly. Human commanders shared mistakes openly. They learned from failure at terrifying speed. On a damaged carrier orbiting Jupiter, Commander Arun Vale addressed exhausted crews. They outgun us, he said. They outnumber us. A young pilot raised her hand. Then how are we still alive? Vale smiled grimly. Because they fight to preserve what they have, he said. We fight knowing we can lose everything. Across the galaxy, Concord morale fractured. Some species began quietly withdrawing fleets. Others refused to engage humans at all. During one skirmish, a Concord captain opened a channel mid-battle. Why do you resist? He demanded. You cannot win. The human reply was calm. We don't need to win today, the voice said. We just need you to lose tomorrow. The word spread. Fear followed. Then came the turning point. The Concord deployed the triumvirate fleet, 3 ancient armadas moving in perfect formation. Their goal was simple. Crush Earth. Human intelligence saw it coming weeks in advance. Admiral Elena Cross gathered her senior commanders. We cannot match them head-on, one said. Elena nodded. Good. Then we won't. She tapped the star map. Instead of defending Earth, human fleets moved outward. They abandoned key systems. The Concorde advanced confidently. Too confidently. As the triumvirate passed through a narrow hyperspace junction, space itself rebelled. Human ships detonated artificial gravity wells. Hyperspace collapsed. Entire Concorde fleets were dragged into real space inside unstable stellar debris fields. Human ships waited. Not in tight formations, but scattered, every pilot acting on independent mission logic. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, one triumvirate fleet was gone. Completely. No survivors. The galaxy froze. This was no longer harassment. This was extermination. In the Concorde chamber, Archivist Threx bowed his head. They are not learning to fight like us, he said. They are forcing us to fight like them. And that, he realized, was far more dangerous. The war had crossed a line. The galaxy was no longer facing an upstart species. It was facing an apex civilization that had finally stopped pretending to be small. The Galactic Concorde had never planned to lose. But now it was losing everywhere. Trade lanes lay silent. Outer systems burned. Ancient fleets withdrew in fear of an enemy that refused to fight predictably. For the first time in recorded galactic history, the Concorde authorized the unthinkable protocol. Archivist Threx watched the sealed order unlock, his ancient feathers trembling. This weapon, he whispered, ended a civilization older than ours. The Korth ambassador did not hesitate. Then let it end another. Far beyond Concorde space, something ancient awakened. Space bent inward like a dying breath. Stars dimmed. And the Axiom Devourer emerged. It was not a ship. It was a moving truth of extinction. The Devourer was built around a hollow core the size of a small moon, wrapped in layered machinery that drank energy directly from stars. Its surface crawled with geometry that hurt to observe. No markings. No signals. No life signs. Only purpose. Its destination was clear. Sol. On Earth, alarms began screaming across every network. Astronomers were the first to see it. Then physicists. Then everyone. Admiral Elena Cross stood in silence as projections filled the command chamber. It's feeding on stellar radiation, an analyst said, voice shaking. If it reaches the sun. There won't be an Earth, another finished. Human fleets rushed to intercept. They were brushed aside like dust. Human weapons struck the Devourer's surface and vanished. Absorbed, repurposed, forgotten. Entire squadrons disappeared without explosions. The Devourer did not fight. It ignored. That terrified humanity more than any enemy before. For the first time, despair crept in. Evacuation orders spread across Earth. Bunkers opened. Children looked up at the sky and saw something darker than night. In the Concorde chamber, panic turned to horror. It's too much, the Ilarian high mind pulsed wildly. We have unleashed something we cannot control. The Korth roared, victory requires sacrifice. Archivist Threx stared at the projection of Sol. No, he said softly. This is not victory. This is annihilation. Back on the UNS Resolute, Elena Cross made a decision that shocked everyone. Recall all long-range strikes, she ordered. A general protested. Admiral, if we stop firing? We won't win by hitting it, Elena said. We win by understanding it. She turned to Commander Arun Vale. Prepare boarding teams. The bridge went silent. You want to board it? Someone whispered. Elena nodded. It was built by a civilization, she said. That means it was built with assumptions. Human assault ships charged the Devourer, not in attack formation but sacrifice runs. Most never made it, but some did. Inside the Devourer, reality felt wrong. Gravity shifted without warning. Corridors reconfigured themselves. Time lagged and jumped. Human soldiers fought machines that did not react emotionally, only logically. And that was the flaw. Human teams did not follow single objectives. They improvised. They failed forward. They died buying seconds. In the core chamber, a human engineer named Maya Chen stared at alien logic older than Earth's oceans. It's not thinking, she realized. It's executing. She opened a channel. Admiral, she gasped, bleeding, it doesn't understand contradiction. Elena's voice came through, steady. Then give it one. Human coders began feeding the Devourer something it had never encountered. Human logic. Paradoxical commands. Emotional weighting. Self-sacrificial priorities. Rules that broke rules. The Devourer slowed. Its energy draw spiked, then destabilized. Inside the Concorde chamber, alarms erupted. "It's malfunctioning," someone cried. "No," Threx whispered in awe. "It's confused." The Devourer turned, slowly, away from the sun. Its systems shut down layer by layer. Then it powered off completely. Above Earth the sky cleared. Human ships drifted, burned, broken, alive. On Earth people cried openly. In the Concorde chamber, silence fell heavier than any warship. The Korth ambassador sank into his throne. "We unleashed a god," he muttered. "And they broke it." Archivist Threx bowed his head. "They did not overpower it," he said. "They outthought it." The war was over. But the galaxy had not yet understood what that truly meant. Because humanity had not just survived extinction. They had rewritten the rules of what power was. And every species in the galaxy felt smaller because of it. The galaxy did not celebrate. It went quiet. For the first time since the Galactic Concorde had formed, there were no patrol fleets enforcing order. No omnipresent signals of authority humming through hyperspace lanes. Worlds waited, unsure whether to fear retaliation or salvation. The Axiom Devourer drifted dark and powerless between stars, a dead god surrounded by human wreckage and silent graves. Human recovery teams worked without pause. They did not sing songs of victory. They did not carve monuments. They collected the dead. On Earth, cities stood intact but scarred. Space elevators hung under repair. Orbital stations burned faintly as they were rebuilt. Humanity had survived, but survival had come at a terrible cost. Admiral Elena Cross stood before the United Earth Assembly, her uniform torn and stained. "We won," a politician said softly. "Didn't we?" Elena did not answer immediately. "We endured," she said at last. "That is not the same thing." She turned toward the window where stars glimmered. "The galaxy is watching us now," she continued. "Not because we are the strongest, but because we stopped when we could have crushed them." That restraint would define everything that followed. The Galactic Concorde reconvened in emergency session. This time no species laughed. No one postured. The great chamber above Vale Prime felt smaller than before. Many thrones were empty. Others were occupied by beings whose empires had been broken, not destroyed but humbled. Archivist Threx floated to the center, ancient eyes dim with age and awe. "The Concorde has failed," he said. "Our doctrine of control has collapsed." The Korth delegation arrived last. They did not stand tall. Lord Marshal Vectar knelt. The sound echoed across the chamber like a thunderclap. "We yield," he said, voice stripped of pride. "To humanity." Gasps rippled through the council. No empire had ever forced the Korth to kneel. A door opened. Admiral Elena Cross entered. She stopped when she saw Vectar on the floor. "Stand," she said firmly. Vectar hesitated. "We surrender." "I didn't come for your submission," Elena said. "I came for your future." The chamber fell silent. She stepped forward. "You feared us because we fight differently," she said. "Because we adapt. Because we refuse to give up." She met the eyes, compound, glowing, crystalline, of a dozen species. "But hear this clearly," she continued. "We do not want to rule you." Murmurs stirred. "We could," she admitted. "After this war we have the knowledge, the leverage, the momentum." Her voice hardened. "But empires rot. We've seen that too many times in our own history." Archivist Threx bowed deeply. "What does humanity demand?" he asked. Elena took a breath. "Dissolve forced absorption," she said. "End conquest by doctrine. Give every species the right to choose." The chamber shook with whispers. "That would end the Concorde as it exists," someone protested. Elena nodded. "Good." The Ilarian high mind pulsed slowly. "And if we refuse?" Elena did not raise her voice. "Then we walk away," she said. "And you will face a galaxy that no longer fears you." That truth landed heavier than any threat. One by one representatives bowed. Not to power. To restraint. In the months that followed, the galaxy transformed. The Concorde was rewritten, not as an empire but a forum. Borders stabilized. Wars ended not by fleets but negotiation. Human advisors helped rebuild worlds they had once fought. They shared technology but not control. On Earth, humanity returned to something resembling peace. Children played under open skies. Veterans watched the stars in silence. Grief lingered, but so did pride. Commander Arun Vale stood beside Elena on a quiet observation deck. "They're calling it the human standard," he said. "Conflict resolution through deterrence, not domination." Elena smiled faintly. We learned the hard way, she replied. A message arrived from Archivist Threx. You were underestimated because you were young, it said. But youth means change. And change is the greatest force in the universe. Elena closed the channel and looked out at the stars. Human ships now traveled openly through Concord space. Not feared. Respected. But there was one final meeting yet to come. One final truth the galaxy had not fully faced. Humanity had proven it could destroy gods. The question that remained was simple and terrifying. What would humans choose to build next? The answer would decide the fate of the stars. And the galaxy waited. Years passed. Not quietly but carefully. The galaxy learned how to breathe again. Trade routes reopened under new agreements. Border worlds rebuilt without fear of forced absorption. Ancient fleets remained docked, no longer symbols of dominance, but reminders of an age that had ended. Humanity did not rush to fill the vacuum. That, more than anything, unsettled the galaxy. On Vale Prime, the old Concord chamber had been transformed. The towering thrones were gone, replaced by a circular hall. No seat was higher than another. No species was above the rest. At the center stood a simple human monument. Not a statue of a warrior. A list of names. Those who had died, human and alien alike. Archivist Threx, older now, addressed a gathering of dozens of species. We once believed power was permanence, he said. That the oldest empires deserved to rule because they endured. He turned his gaze toward the human delegation. We were wrong. Admiral Elena Cross, her hair now streaked with gray, stood quietly beside Commander Arun Vale. A young alien diplomat, barely mature by its species standards, approached them later. Why didn't you take control? It asked honestly. You could have ruled everything. Elena smiled gently. We tried that once, she said. On our own planet. Arun continued, voice calm. We learned something important, he said. Being the strongest doesn't make you right. It just makes you responsible. The alien considered this. That makes no strategic sense, it said. Elena chuckled. It makes perfect human sense. Beyond the chamber, human fleets moved through the stars, not as conquerors but as guardians of open space. When conflicts flared, humans arrived not with ultimatums but with choices. They still fought when necessary. And when they did, the galaxy remembered. Pirate coalitions dissolved at the sight of human hulls. Warlords chose surrender over testing human resolve. Ancient species rewrote military doctrine to account for something they could not model. Human unpredictability. Human resilience. Human refusal to accept extinction as an outcome. On Earth, life went on. Cities grew upward and outward. Children learned history that stretched beyond their planet. They learned of a time when humanity was small, frightened, and underestimated. They also learned what happened next. In a quiet academy overlooking the Pacific, a human teacher spoke to a mixed-species class. The Concord thought humans were dangerous because we were violent, she said. A student raised a tentacle. Weren't they right? The teacher smiled sadly. No, she replied. They were wrong. She gestured to the stars outside the window. They should have been afraid because we endure. Far beyond known space, the axiom devourer still drifted, silent, powerless, studied carefully. Humanity never reactivated it. They dismantled it, piece by piece, not to build a weapon, but to ensure no one ever could again. Archivist Threx visited the site once, watching human engineers work. You broke a god, he said, and then you chose not to become one. A human engineer wiped grease from her hands. Gods don't learn, she said. We do. That answer spread across the stars faster than any fleet. And it changed everything. Centuries later, long after Admiral Cross had become history, long after even Archivist Threx had turned to dust, galactic scholars would debate the moment the balance of power truly shifted. Some said it was the battle above Mars. Others said it was the fall of the triumvirate fleet. Many believed it was the day the Devourer went dark. But the humans knew better. The real turning point was simpler. It was the moment the galaxy tried to erase them. And failed. Because humanity did not survive by being stronger. They survived by adapting faster. By thinking differently. By refusing to surrender even when logic said they should. That was the final lesson written into galactic history. The galaxy made one fatal mistake. It believed humanity was just another species. It was wrong. Humanity was a force shaped by struggle, sharpened by loss, and defined by choice. And as long as stars burned and civilizations rose and fell, one truth would endure among them all. Never challenge humanity, unless you are prepared to be changed forever.